Howdys and salutations, y'all. How are you doing? Hope that it's been a good, longish weekend for y'all. Sorry I missed yesterday, such is the way of things. Uh, Jury duty, which did unfortunately cancel at the last second, but I didn't have time to get stream stuff set up for it, so I am sorry. But we're back at it now, and we've got some interesting stuff. While I didn't get to stream yesterday, I was still doing some stream homework. Namely, I dug out some old reference books and figured out some things and refreshed on some stuff. So, I think our head practice is going to be... And I just thought of the best pun ever. It's not. It's a mediocre pun. I've overhyped it now. Nevertheless, what I should have said was I used that time to get ahead on the practice. Never mind. I'll just leave. Goodbye. Okay, I'm kidding. But for real, we did some practice. I went and dug out an old drawing, like figure drawing book and such. So hopefully we'll be able to make some more progress today, learn some actually useful stuff. That said, I also got hooked on, I don't even know what the heck the genre is, some sort of like techno-funk music stuff. So it's going to be hard for me to go back to the lo-fi for the stream, but we need it for the whole copyright dealio. I do like the lo-fi, it's nice. But we will, actually, I guess we ought to just jump right into it, really. I need to set up my sketch daily view to be something halfway decent, so just give me a moment there. And, man, I usually have so much, like, warm-up and intro and everything, and yada yada yada. Ooh-ha. I guess one thing, let's see if this works. I did mess with some other stuff, too, and that's right, we have stream chat now! Woo! I realized my old overlay, A, straight up wasn't working, and B, even if it did work, it wasn't designed to have chat show up in a useful place at all. So now we got it. Now, when y'all see the recordings, you won't think I'm talking to the endless void. We'll actually be able to see what the heck is going on in Chatland. Also, I might actually see chat and not miss it. So there we go. I know I had some big announcement I could use to procrastinate on the stream, because we always do that. I mean, it wouldn't be a SIF stream if we didn't do that. Let's see. That'll do. Okay, let me crunch this into something a little more to size. And then we'll get our first reference up here. Yes, really up here would be useful. I guess worth mentioning is the color palette here is going to be by, well, it's from Low Spec. It's called Golden Sunset. Gotta give credit where it's due. Low Spec is a host site, for the record, not the creator. But I highly recommend you check it out and go check out Golden Sunset, because this palette is just wonderful. Used it for a lot of the Sword Timber stuff. Whoops, that's going above my overlay. That's not really helpful, is it? Oop, there we go. Hey, I can hide some of the other stuff now. Maybe? There we go. There we go. Reference image. Granted, the reference image's shapes and sizes are a long way from consistent, so we'll see if that ends up biting me later. Let me know if you can't see squat. But yeah, we got chat, we got all sorts of stuff going on. It's gonna be a good one, I hope. I will admit I am stinking exhausted from work. It has been crazy. It shouldn't be crazy right now, but it has been. So we've just been working with making do with that, I suppose. Okay, so what I want to do today is something that anyone who's looked on art tutorials and stuff on how to draw people has probably run into this a few times, especially if you use Proco. Highly recommend his stuff. Please disregard any... Well, okay, good. It's not showing on stream. May have another art tab that would be a little spoilery, but it's not visible. Thank you, overlay. For the future, y'all. For the future. Let's see. Okay, so we just throw this down. Got some nice colors that all play nice. I spent a lot of time yesterday just trying to build a nice color palette. And I got some that were, like, okay. But I've got a long way to go. Like, let's see. Here, I'll do some doodles. We got, like, nice blues and purples and greens that can go here along with, you know, highlight tones and shady ones and all that jazz. Like you do. We got that one. What was the other one? Oh, this one was wild. Okay. So it's sort of like you've got greens into teal gradient type deal here. Feels always interesting. It gets so bold. And then it's got like an accompanying violet tone with it, which is absolutely my jam. And it also had some like burnt umber-ish tones to it. Kind of an interesting palette. Just doing some research and testing how to make those, so hopefully we'll have some better options in the future. But for this, despite a lot of experimenting and testing and learning, I think I'm just gonna stick with the, what did I say we were doing? Golden Sunset, that's right. Just good. So I am going to mega erase all of this. Zoop that stuff all away. And jump back into our actual color palette for the evening. Oh, I thought this looked weird. I'm somehow on the gouache blender? It's gouache, isn't it? A long time since I've said that. Going back to my old art classes. Yeah, like this is a nice palette. We can do good things with this. And, you know, it's not like we're doing a complex drawing. I'm just trying to draw a face. So, as usual, this is sketchdaily.com. Highly recommend it. Although, obviously, just be wary because it's figure drawing, and so depending on the filters, you can end up with stuff you don't want to see. So just big old warning there. It won't show you anything you don't look for, but still, just be aware. And of course, everything on here is going to be super Twitch safe. These are just faces. So, what we want to look for, this is the thing. Sorry, I am a little all over the place today. But the thing that you've probably seen from tutorials before, especially Proco, is called the Loomis head. Goes back to a fellow named Andrew Loomis, who was an artist slash art guide writer back from, I want to say, the 30s, maybe the 40s. When was this published? 43. Okay, so yeah, goes back a ways, 80-ish years. Climbing up there, though. And it's basically a guide, not just like it's an excellent figure drawing guide, but it's specifically designed to be able to how to draw well in a way that you could sell it, which is an interesting approach to an art guide and probably more unique to the 40s than to periods before it, or at least than to periods of say like 1850. But it has a lot of excellent sort of shorthand and idea and guides, and one of the most popular pieces to come out of it. It's in a couple of their books, his books, but specifically Figure Drawing for All It's Worth has this little guide. It's how to build a head architecturally, like designing the structure so that we're building this. So, the way it starts, we're just going to go through this once, is use a color that isn't the same as your background. That's going to be rule number one. But I am going to use this sort of lighter one. I'm just going to start with a circle-ish circle. Actually, for the sake of our sanity, I'm going to do a bigger one. That makes it harder to make it all circly. But there we go. That's a circle. The next thing is I want to figure out the orientation of the face a little bit. The first line, we're going to, well, I guess, bisect this sphere 3 ways. Because it's a circle right now, but once we start adding some depth to it, it'll be a sphere. Actually, it's a bunch of pixels. It's not anything. But the point is, it'll look like a sphere. So this one's a little sharper than the guide, but basically this line should roughly be the center of the face. And now it's not going to be quite as far over, but bear with me. I can also use this as an excuse to recircle up that circle a little bit. Oops, that is not a vector eraser. Okay. You know, if you were actually, you know, pro level, you wouldn't be tweaking the circle at this point. It would be done. Okay, but we've got that one, and then we want at the top of the head, so thinking about where the top is going to be, we want this one to bisect it perpendicularly. So it should make a big old plus sign at the top, basically. Now with the steepness of this angle, it's actually... I've got to be careful not to just follow the book outright, because... well, basically the angle doesn't match our actual reference image, and I'm going to try to do this from the reference image that I am learning and teaching at the same time. I say teaching. Like the substitute teacher who's like read the textbook but like isn't an expert in this topic at all. that's sort of where I'm at right now. So anyway, this one, basically that should divide it into 4 equal quarters. And then at the angle of the face, we want one more doing it this way. Now, I'm just looking at this reference image. I'm going to exaggerate the face angle down a little bit, although probably not quite as much as I have, so I'm going to tweak that. I do want to exaggerate that down. But otherwise, we've sort of got this. And then it really is, like, the third line is more like that, but it's pretty close. Like, the reference image in the book is, like it's similar tilt that way, but it's got a lot more. The third axis is more over. I'm not just making stars. Theoretically, those are like 3D spaces. You've got like a cube going on. Anyway, that's a slight tangent. The point being, I need to make sure that I'm actually lining these up a little bit, so I'm going to taper off on the taper a little bit. Actually, just lessen the tilt so that it's softer. Okay. So that's step one. You've got to learn better to do that with vector lines. They never erase right when I do the scribble erase. Okay. Okay, cool. Next up, we want to add a little bit more on the way of construction. I'm going to still going to do this sort of orangey color. So then, basically the next step is that we're going to take this line, and you may have seen me doing a sort of like halfway part of this. It's one of many ways to structure the creation of the face. Many ways. The human face does not lend itself to very basic geometry and in a single inherent way, so people have to be a little clever with how they do it. But it's a good one. And what I was using yesterday was sort of a Friday was kind of a partially remembered variant of this. But basically continuing the rough angle of this. So it's going to be parallel to, if this theoretical circle, was flat, so you've got kind of a line just going through it. We want to make sure we're kind of parallel to that. I'm going to continue this down. At least as far down, let's see. Okay, so the way to do this is basically you break it into 4 equal segments. This line here, believe it or not, is not the nose line, that's the eyebrow line. Let's see. About halfway up to the top here, we've got this one, which is going to be the hairline. Let's see. Yep. And then we're going to try to keep equal lines all the way down this. So I'm just eyeballing that, so this is still going to be rough. That's what the theory is anyway, is that. Do not believe I have done that very well. I think these are a little short, frankly. And also, I think the orb is a little tall. What do I get for trying to correct it midway? Well, no matter. We're still keeping it parallel. Make sure this continues down. We got this one, and then this one. We don't need the invisible back lines here anymore, so we'll keep on keeping on. Really makes you appreciate those like super slick art tutorials. But that's not where we're at this point. You've instead elected to watch my stream for some reason. That said, we're happy to have you. Let's see. Okay. So then I'm not going to worry about the brow line too much. Actually, what I'm going to worry about is, so assuming that this sort of continued all the way around and was cutting off the circle at a flat level way, and this one did the same, really makes me think it should be lower. Okay, there we go. That's feeling, whoops. Let's do that again, but less bad. Okay. That'll do. That will do. A similar deal with this lower one, basically. That's going to give us the bottom and top points for this side circle, which would be roughly the same size and shape as those. And this one is basically, the fact of the matter is the head is not a sphere, at least not for most people. It's actually flatter on the sides. So for this section, we're basically trimming the edge off. It's sort of like if we had our sphere. Nope. And it moves like this, and we're just slicing a chunk off. This bit's been cut off. This is a terrible illustration, but hopefully you understand the idea. Knife, go here. Knife, cut this off. Not of actual person's head. This is the part that isn't part of your head. I feel like these explanations are maybe not helping. Hopefully at least seeing will be helpful. And this is a rough overview. Again, I highly recommend you go read the book or watch like a Proco tutorial or some such. There's a lot of excellent free ones on YouTube for more technical pieces like this, because that's where having the proper expertise is really beneficial. Watching another sort of beginner or amateur is helpful for like practice and confidence and learning tips and tricks. It's not necessarily helpful for getting the underlying structures though. Like I can go over some of this stuff, but it's going to end up being a little like that perspective stream where it's not as good as if you got someone who knew what they were talking about for those technical objective pieces. Still, I do hope you stick around and see where we go with this, because I'm hoping we get some interesting stuff. So mainly, you can see we've sort of flattened this out, so I'm going to remove the excess one. Well, not yet. I'm going to leave them so that we can have all our layers. But basically, we want the chin to come down from this and to go to the bottom line of this. This is the part where me having the proportion length on this wrong is probably going to come back to haunt me. That's okay. And theoretically, the same thing has happened on the other side. So I'm trying to think, from this angle though, we're not going to see a whole lot of that. Like a little bit of it, maybe. That's going to be the jaw. Okay. And like theoretically we'd be able to see a little more, but with our reference image, we really can't see behind that part of the face. That's okay. A little width to it. Okay, next up, let's dim that layer a bit and do another one that's a little better. Not better, just different. Let's see. Oh, I guess 2 more reference lines on this real quick. So we've established this is the brow line. So the eyes are going to be, basically, if you split this line into thirds, the eyes are going to be in the middle third. Not like that, but that height. Location-wise, they're going to be like a little more over. And the mouth is similarly going to be, so this is actually going to be the bottom of the nose, and the mouth is, if you did thirds again, it's going to be this upper third. Let's see. And we'll do this a couple times, so we'll get better. Well, we'll get better. I'm just going to hope, I'm going to leave the sentence like that and be hopeful. But we no longer need that lower third at the very least. Okay. So, now that we've sort of got that blocked in, let's actually go onto this other layer. Let's use the darker color, and let's have another go at some of these details, actually looking at our ref, trying to make them match her pose. I do think I've gotten the angle of this slightly wrong, truthfully. Let's see. So step 1 is neck is going to be there, but the color in this case will obscure much of that. I'm going to try to follow this line. Chin is going to be that lower one. Mouth is here. It is a little open, so normally if you were, if we were doing a better, like more exact, with more exact proportions, you would actually have the chin move down a little bit to account for the fact that the mouth is open, but it's not that wide open. And this is mainly just a sort of practice run. So, notable reference with the mouth, as I recall, and as I draw this atrocity, no. Not atrocity, but bad. It was not good. You can zoom in just a hair. I'm gonna say trust the process, but I'm not even sure I trust it right now. You think about where that is. That's sort of this. It arcs back down too, and that's got to be smooth edge there. That's part of where I trip up on mouths. I specifically need to practice drawing mouths. I know that's a weak point, even in the context of the head. Part of the issue is that when you do them in full darkness, like it creates too much contrast between the color of the lips and the color of the rest of the skin, and so it makes stuff pop in ways that your brain immediately says, "Ooh." Alright, okay. We'll leave that for now and we'll come back to it. Next up is we've got the nose. So brow line to the nose here. This is where the nose connects to the face, mind. So a lot of faces, including the one we're looking at, the point of the nose is actually going to be up from that a little bit. And this is going to peak in not quite at the brow line, but somewhere between these two is where it's going to be at its... You can sort of see that around where the eyes are, the whole face kind of indents in a little bit. That's just a thing people's faces do. I assume it's to protect the eyes and have them set back a little bit. I don't know the exact details on why that's the case, but it is the case. So that dip is going to be sort of between these two. And so I'm going to make sure that the curve of the nose... I think it actually comes out a little further, but like that. So I still want the base of that, sort of the base of the curve before it starts to turn in, to be at roughly this point. Let's see. Maybe that's a little far out. Maybe the first amount was right. We'll stick with this amount for now, and we'll come back to it as needed. Let's see. This is not quite at the edge of the mouth, and yeah, okay. This is going to eventually begin curving into the brow, and from this angle, it usually ends up just merging with the eyebrow. But you can see this curve just smoothly leads into the eyebrow because the brow is right on the brow ridge, as you might expect. This, we'll want to get the exact eye positioning and size before I do too much more with that one, though. Because this is probably a little bit high, to be honest. Let's see, so you can already see in the reference image, the cheek is visible even there. Oh yeah, it's definitely high. The eye is going to be about here, and then the brow line kind of pokes up. We want something more like that, methinks. Yeah, we'll work with that. I'm still sort of getting my eye in on this and figuring it out myself, as you may have guessed. Okay, so we've got the nose. Most of this eye is going to be obscured, as we can see. And we shouldn't worry about these level of details yet. I'm just trying to get positions for stuff. I do think that this eye, truthfully, something like that, and then once again bring this brow down a little bit. So the brows match. Okay. And normally we'd worry about the hairline being up here. However, it looks like our reference has a hat, and its hat band is actually a little bit below that line from what I can tell. Like the big band here. Let's get the ear in for reference, because that's the other useful reference. Top of the ear is going to be lined up, well, it should be lined up with this line. Yes, yeah. Okay. Lower, because it should really be lined up with the eyes is the point. And the ear may not seem like as important of a piece, but it actually helps your brain understand the perspective, like the angle of the head. Because if you've got a head where you're like seeing it from way below, let's say you've got the nose there and like eye there, the ears are going to look like they're way below the eyes. Whereas if you've got a face where you're seeing it from like way above, nose there, you've got the eyes, the ears are actually going to look like they're higher up relatively. It has to do with, well, how angles and perspective works. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of that too much. Anyway, so there's our little faces. Head on, it should be about eye height. Anyway, so this one, head is tilted down slightly, ears are going to look slightly above. That's good. Slightly wider too. I always end up cartooning ears a little too narrow, and I don't know why, but it's just every time I do it. Ears gonna be there. Gonna have a little bit of hairline up, at least like a little above the brow line, but not crazy above it. And it's gonna cover part of the ear. And then this is going to sort of be our pinnacle point for the hat where the brim attaches. The reason that's important is because the brim is, in many ways, relative, like, It's the easiest piece of the hat to place because it's immediately relative to the eyes and eyebrows that we've already placed. And as I've said many a time, and read many a time, and experienced many a time, all this stuff about keeping stuff in proportion, step one is keeping it in the right place and size relative to the other pieces of the piece, not necessarily relative to a tape measure. So that level of precision is frequently good. What's really important is that everything in the piece makes sense. And well, this really curves more like that, doesn't it? But it also definitely comes down lower than that, doesn't it? There we go. And it's fairly flat, which means I think we had this band a little too high up. And by me. That's why we get these proportions relative to other things first. Let's see. The way this is curved implies that we're above a little bit, which I guess... Interesting. No, it implies we're slightly below the hat line at that point. That makes more sense. Okay. I gotta get that part straightened out in my head. I shouldn't even try to explain that stuff until I, can say it right. Okay. And this has got a nice little leather band around it that sort of wraps down. Just leave that guy there doing whatever he's doing. Let me steal his ear. That's fine. Alright. And then this hat kind of billows over. Now the thing we want to remember about this sort of thing is that there is still going to be hair under the hat, so it's not going to be directly flush with the head. I realize it's not. This hat is giving me like Tam O'Shanter vibes, which is kind of funny. Let's see. We'll just keep up with that. And there's our pin. Other point of the neck. This one is going to be hard to tell because the collar is obscuring quite a lot of the image. It looks like it's probably further back, because a lot more of the neck is actually going backwards like this. You can see from where the collar is in the image, that's the case. We've got that a little too steep, so maybe the collar even does that, and then this kind of smooths out. Yeah, okay, cool. Presumably the neck is like somewhere here, which does track with our reference guide, actually, because we're lining it up with these central lines. I say central, I mean like this one. That one on the lower layer. Okay. Toss this, because we don't need it anymore. I won't go much beyond the collar on this one, because then I'd be getting a little distracted from the face, even though drawing fabric is fun and a little more loosey-goosey, and in my opinion, considerably easier than drawing faces. I have no idea if that's a hot take or not, because they're both things that people typically don't like drawing. But I don't know, fabric is just fun to draw. Let's see, I know this one isn't exact 1-to-1, but it's, I don't know, I just enjoy it. Maybe it's because I enjoy sewing, so the way fabric flows is just more like, oh yes, my brain, it understands. Just a little. That's obviously a little rough still. But it's a heck of a lot less rough than that head. Holy cow. Why is the face so far forward? Where did I... Oh, right. It's because we got the proportions too squatty, so it all looks comparative. Okay. Hey, Dado, how are you? Check it out, we got chat on stream now. Yeah, you might be able to guess this particular drawing is not exactly going amazingly. I botched the underlying proportions a little bit, and it has resulted in this kind of squatty face. Gonna have to do some tweaks, but that's okay, we can work with that. How are you, though? Yeah, now if anyone sees the VOD, they'll actually see what you say, and I won't just be talking to a mysterious ghost. Hey, yep, nothing wrong with that. Now let's see. Oh, what did I do? There we go. A good way to spend the evening. Or the early morning. That's the fun fact. If you're up late enough, it becomes early. Okay, let's see if we can't. With these proportions a little less bad. Oh, jeepers. Yeah, do take care of yourself. I mean, I say that as though I haven't stayed up till 2:30 at some points. Like it happens, but it does come back to bite you in the morning, don't it? Gonna move the face back just a little bit. Mouth is still looking nightmarish. Ah, well, we'll work on it. The point is just that it looks a little less nightmarish than last time. Eventually, we'll have something that looks almost human. Maybe. I make no promises. See if we can't get a decent eye shape on here. Yeah, things are, I don't know, plugging along over here. Sorry I wasn't able to stream yesterday. Yeah, it's always like you've got the idea in your head of what the art could be, and so like when you actually see it, you're like, oh man, not that. But I don't know. That's why I like doing experimental stuff, because even if the like not, I do need to do actual more just proper technical practice, but doing funky experimental stuff, I can at least get like, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting result. I'm kind of satisfied with that being something unusual. Let's see. I can't really tell from the reference, but I assume there's an iris in here somewhere. Probably not exactly like that. That'll work. Although I guess what we could do are the Amogus eyes. You seen those, Dado? Big feet, and then if you make it wide, it becomes a crying anime eye. It's such a silly meme, but it also actually kind of works. It's stupid that it actually does work. Unlike all the other Among Us art tutorials, which do not work. I've seen some pretty dumb ones out there. I like the Amogus fingernails. Like you draw the finger, and then you draw like a little Among Us guy, and then you've got your highlight with the fingernail, but that doesn't look like a fingernail at all. Those are so silly. Then we'll go back to our bigger level of detail for this one. Be like a little higher up on the brow ridge, I think, but not that high compared to the eye. Maybe need to bring this in a little lower. Just sort of tweaking and playing around with this, seeing what we do. This brow, actually that makes the ridge align with this brow better, which is nice. And it sort of reaches the edge of the face sooner than it is in this reference. Just sort of thinking aloud as I tweak these. Not just flatten it. Oh, sort of. Brow itself is escaping over the edge, which is what actually happens. Okay, let's see. And the eye needs to be roughly level. And roughly the same size. And end up hiding behind the nose. This is all way too far away. I wonder how I got the proportions too wide. I wonder what piece of the step I'm missing. Actually, I think the main thing is, well, not the main thing. Part of it is that the angle I've drawn the head at and the angle it actually is in the reference don't quite line up. And so little details like how much of the eye is obscured by the nose also don't quite line up, which is fine. I just need to make sure I adapt to the angle I'm actually drawing at and don't try to force it. And also, part of the issue with the mouth there is line weight. If everything's the same line weight, everything draws your eye the same amount, and so things that shouldn't be bold details end up becoming bold details, and it ends up looking messy. That's already it's not good, but it's a much better tooth than the other one. Probably ought to do that. I've got a little cheat tool here where I can adjust line width because Studio Paint has some fun vector tool options. Let me narrow all of this sort of inner, well, not all of it, but this outer edge here. A little bit of a cheat, but not really. It's just a helpful tool. I already had to draw the mouth correctly after all. This too shouldn't be as bold. There we go. That already looks still scary, but less. I think we fixed the chin line a little bit, and that'll be much better. But yeah, no, I'm just sort of arting along. I don't really have a better word for that. Probably ought to figure out a better word for that. I don't think artin is particularly a verb. Guess you could do amogus nostrils. Eh. There we go, that's a little better. I'm gonna have to estimate on the second eye a little bit because it's less obscured at this angle than it is in the drawing. Hey, you know, anywhere I can hide it, I'm gonna see what I can do. Seriously, I think I've seen like 9 different tutorials about how to draw different things using amungi? What's the plural? Amoguses? Amogusi? Anyway, a whole ship of crewmates, just into drawings as guides. Most of them are pretty funny. Okay, so figuring out the hat line then, really ought to do the hat on actually its own layer. Let me see. Structure. Base sketch. Ink. Hat. There we go. Just so I don't completely botch what I'm doing by doing the hat. I'm gonna go down just one, so yeah, we'll do 4 for this. Let's see. Knowing that this sort of edge of the brim comes out, it's about as far this way as it is into the face for the nose, so I don't want to go too far. It lines up like slightly above center with the actual like eye, and then it kind of arcs its way over here. Fairly basic arc. working its way back up. Got a fairly gentle slant, only until it would hit the face. And then I can actually use this inversely to figure out where the ear goes. I've still got the face too wide. How do I still have the face that much too wide? I think a lot of that, let me do some tweaks here. I'll be honest, I got a little distracted today, and instead of practicing for this, I figured out the basics of how to do animation with Clip Studio Paint, and while I don't have anything I can properly animate yet is the key word there, and I'm totally going to try to work on something. That might be a fun thing for December. See if we can get consistent enough, not like super excellent face drawings and proportions and such, but just consistent enough with our drawing that we can do animations. That would be fun. And a good way to practice, because you got to draw all those frames. Hey, nice! It's always nice when you look at something and you're like, huh, that actually looks good. I think it's connecting below the nose even. And it's gotta be wider than that. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't want to overpromise anything, so I've got no guarantees of animation stuff, but you know, November I've got slated for Blender, which I love and is like fairly easy to animate in. And then December it might be fun to do some actual like 2D animations. And I'll do a new layer for the coat too. Just gonna give it fairly bold lines. Let's see. Funny how that works. Yeah, it's a real mix. Trying to navigate social media, good luck. There's too many random variables to predict anything. Thanks, yeah. Swordtember was fun, but I'm glad I'm getting to sort of move on to some other things. Maybe next year we'll do Inktober or Witchtober or something, but like, I don't know. Daily challenges are rough, especially since I've got like a day job. Like, there are some days where it's just like, oh, you've got to work, and then you've got to work on all the like personal responsibilities and not forget to eat, and like, when the heck are you gonna have time to do art in between all that? But you know, maybe next time we can make a little more time for it, or I'll get fast enough that art doesn't take me stinking like 5 hours. I'm sure by then my standards will have increased, so like doing this stuff won't take 5 hours, but whatever I'm trying to do then will. That's how it always seems to go. Let's see. There we go, we got that, because we've also got the slightly less steep one. Once again, this isn't supposed to be a fabric drawing thing, but darn it, I like drawing fabric a lot more than I like drawing people. Stitch work itself doesn't need to be as bold. Oh, you don't have to do that, but if you want to, that'd be awesome. I'll have to draw you something sometime too. Let's see. Get to this. The hairline's going to cover a lot of that by the end, but yeah, roughly speaking, something like that. Really more, or something like that. There we go. Yeah, yeah, no, like, not when you're busy though. Got to keep up with everything else. Okay, let's get back to the hat. I'll have to think up some favorite anime characters then. A lot of choices. But no pressure. Like, obviously, you know, life happens. There was a time when I did commissions way back in the day. Um, but like I was so slow on the delivery. Granted, it wasn't for drawing; it was for stuffed animals. But like, still took like 8 months to do one. That was a little embarrassing. I was like, sorry, this took so long. Yeah, back in the day, but again, it wasn't for drawings. It was for like stuffed animals. I'm not bad with a sewing machine. Much better than I am with a tablet. I'll have to do a sewing stream one of these days. But I need to figure out how to get like, you know, a camera set up and all that jazz. Don't mind the Among Eye. Anyway. There's clearly chin, at least there. Okay, so assuming we turn those layers off, we've gotten much too squatty of a head. Okay, I need to figure out what went wrong with the proportions there. Maybe I'll not go quite as strict on the proportions and try to use... I mean, I want to use the structure, but I also need to use my gut instincts a little bit, maybe. We'll give it a shot. Let's see, chuck these in a folder. One, sure. New line layers going in here and see what we can do. Oh yeah, I'm always down for head shape tips. There we go, it's the perfect head shape. Oh, I appreciate it. I try not to use templates too much. It's just a personal thing, quirk, not anything bad. I'm always trying to figure out the like geometry and how to construct everything behind it. Like there's nothing wrong with templates at all. They're nifty things. Just I like trying to figure out the underlying geometry, you know? Cool. But it's stinking hard. Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting, like, I'm not gonna do the Among Us head. It's interesting, like if you get like something that you feel comfortable with, like a real stylized one, like I can do one style pretty quick. Get something like kind of cartoony in here. Whoops, nope, I still want that outer outline. You can do a better mouse than that. Oh, give me the pen. Some real expressive in here. Even like a little headband or something. A less awful headband, maybe. Let's see. Like, I don't know. Like, I love doing stuff like this. But I can't draw this in any other view. It's getting weird angles. I need to actually plan out that stuff if I try to do it. I guess we could do just like, that's a little jarring. Yeah, maybe not that. The collar, at least. There you go. A businessman with a headband. I'm sure that makes any sense at all. Like, doing little cartoony characters like that is fun. It's just, I'm trying to figure out how I can do consistently, like, actually more realistic stuff. Or, you know, this character, but face view. Thinking difficult doing face view with these. Yeah. Yeah, realism's tough. Like, they just turn into stinking sands. Don't know how to do front view, like, face outline. Let alone keeping the hairstyle consistent. Just falls apart immediately. So it's one of those things I need to figure out. Like, a little small face is easy enough. Like a little scrunchie or something. I don't know. It's just realism. Realism is tough, and being able to do these where it's not. This is what I'm trying to, like. I've used templates and stuff before, but like, where I'm trying to figure out the structure is like, I can only draw this guy from this angle. If I can figure out like the actual structure behind him, then I could see him at different angles, and that's useful for just drawing, and it's fun to see characters. But it's also handy for animation, which is something I'd love to do sometime. Like, right and proper. Although I notice even in TV shows, a lot of times they steer away from like a front face view of animation. Like, I don't know if y'all had Phineas and Ferb over there. They're super stylized characters, and they definitely never showed them from the front, or at least avoided it at all costs. It was a rare thing. But yeah. Yeah, so put those away. Yeah, it was a cute show back in the day. Hey, can I get one that's not a front on view? That's not a front on view. That'll work. Put it down a bit to see him, maybe. That's tricky, but one of these days I'm gonna get it down, and I think the only way is to keep practicing and then to review what goes wrong. Because just seeing like, that looks bad, never gets me anywhere. I need to figure out why it looks bad so I can try to change that for the next time. Doesn't mean I'm good at doing that, but it's, you know, useful. Let's see. I gotta take a sip of water real quick. It's been like an hour. Whew, okay. Let's see if we can't figure out the face angle on this one. Like that, maybe? Very, very slight curve. You're kind of below. Yeah, okay, the ear really does help with the angle. Oh, yeah, looking at old art really makes you appreciate how far you've come. Sure. I haven't gotten any of my old stuff on here. I ought to dig some of that out. We could do like an old showcase. Because everything's incremental improvements, right? It's just like a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time, so you don't notice unless you go and compare. Let's see. I got like a real loose outline there. See if we can't get something a little less loose now. Sure, yeah. Feel free to send that my way. I guess we need to figure out, I can direct message, we can figure out Discord stuff, or you can chuck it in chat here if you like. Happy to have that too. Whatever you're comfortable with. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. Come on, Discord, that's not even my account. Oh well. Oh yeah, that works too. That works too. You mind if we look at it on stream, or like, do you want to keep that private? I never want to show off someone's work if they don't want, like. If they don't want to share it. Okay. Oh yeah, I like that. That's a good outline too. You got the like proportional points right. That's handy. Dang. Let's see. Oh, let me actually get that on here. Wowzers. Okay. Guess I can't use arrow keys to navigate this, can I? And zoom in at these. Wow. Yeah, you're coming right along. And I need to watch the show. I'm so behind on stuff. I didn't get into anime until way late. Yeah, but like, even then you still had good, like, form to the original. And then the new one, you've got so much more detail and character in it. Fair enough. Yeah. Look at that. I like the reflections on it. be a little bit of Catra's mask from She-Ra, or maybe the other way around. Maybe Catra's is reminiscent of this. I guess it depends on which came first. That's a cute show. The new She-Ra remake is pretty fun. Wow, yeah. Okay, I won't overshare this too long. Don't want to show off that cool art and then have people jump on stream and see what I'm actually drawing and be like, ah. Yeah, I fell like headfirst in the She-Ra fandom back at the start of the pandemic times and all that. It's a fun one. But my opinion may be colored by everything else was crazy awful in the world, and so having a fun show was like, whoa! I'm sure it still holds up pretty well, though. It's not been that long. No, I've got my own skills in their own places, but face drawing is one that I happen to know is a particular weakness, so that's one that I'm working on. I got stuff I'm good at. I'm just trying to fill in the gaps. But I appreciate the support. Let's see. Yeah, gotta not over self-deprecate. No, that line without context always just makes people look old. I know that by now. I shouldn't just place it without thinking. Not that tall of a nose, and it's a very soft brow line. That's actually kind of nice. Now, I know structurally this is exactly what they say never to do, is to just throw the pieces down without figuring out where they should be relative to everything else first. But I figure let's mix it up a bit. Since I went super structural on that other one, let's see what happens when I go with just a kind of pure instinct drawing. Oh, thanks. Yeah, noses are always a stinking challenge. I experiment with all sorts of different things to try to get them to look good. Still tweaking it, but so far it's, getting better. Let's see. That's going to be the innermost point. Going to kind of peek out roughly at the same height as the nose. In his case, it kind of just arcs back in. Really wide chin, at least at this angle. Arc up. This is the part where proportions can get wonky on me if I'm not careful. It's going a long way from all the other details. Let's think about it. We still got that reference over there for the ear-ish. Jaw lines, I need to be careful and get this, like, I'm always not quite right on how square the jaw should be. That still needs to have a little tilt to it as well. Okay. As far as eye goes. Let's see, we'll keep that in. Looks like the bottom should be roughly level with the nose, and the top should be roughly level with that. Okay. No, we want a little more curve out. There we go, something like that. Actually make this a little bit taller. Okay, there we go. Gets us a smoother curve. Okay, looks like we've got neck coming out roughly in the middle of the chin, and as usual, when you can see it on the side, the neck seems to emerge from the ear. Likes to do that. Yeah, don't let me keep you up too long. But yeah, have a good one. And thank you for dropping by. And for sharing your art. That was cool. Let's see. Bye. Have a good one. spoiled having folks like Dado around. I'm gonna forget how to monologue to myself for 2 hours. Not that that's a particularly important skill. I don't think there's an international monologuing competition where it's just you in an empty room doing a monologue. Maybe there should be. Anyone interested in joining that? I've got a new Mono League. Mono League, that's so dumb. Dumb but in a fun way. My favorite kind of dumb. Monty Python would call that silly. Maybe I ought to draw like this more often. About how everything fits in there. Likewise on this one. Interesting. And we have line weight. We can make this a little softer. Maybe we just stick with the stylized nostril-less nose. How good with that? Not going to try to go 100% realism on this. This hairline, let's see. This is roughly above this eye. That's where this picks up. Just trying to explain my sort of thought process of where I put things. Okay, we got that. And it continues down, roughly even. So we get sort of here, kind of arcs out. Peaks back up a little bit. Gonna have to figure out the exact mouth shape before I go any further on that. And it kind of vanishes into the shadows over on this side. But it does also continue down here. In terms of ear shapes, we can always fall back on the Amogus, but I think we can do a little better on this one. Kind of here, and it tapers wide. There we go. This form here, and a larger form there. Of course, a little bit there to help balance it. I'm not going for the exact ear, I'm just looking for big shapes. I think that's reasonable for that. We don't want to draw over attention to the ear from having too much detail or too much dark. That would be awkward. Clean that up a tad. Okay, we didn't quite nail the head tilt, but I usually end up untilting when I'm doing this. That's a funny thing the brain does. Let's see about this mouth now, shall we? Widthwise, it comes out to about under the iris on this side. And kind of the same on this side. Now we've got our cartoony over-the-size nose, so we'll see if we want to stick to exact proportions. Thinking about rough shape like that. And the lip kind of... Whoa. Thanks, NVIDIA, but I think I'm going to pass. I appreciate the suggestion, but another time. Taper that one a little bit, not quite so sharp. Get that line out. Well, I mean, it kind of gets the grimace right, but it definitely still isn't getting the actual mouth right. Can't really zoom in on the reference image. That's part of the challenge here. Not an issue with the site, an issue with the way I've got this set up. If I go and mess with it, it's going to mess up the whole stream layout. Let's see, let's remove some of that. Also a little off that's part of the issue, is we need like a bigger, shorter one here, and then like a smaller, wider one there. Get the centering a little better, maybe? I don't know. There we go, now it's at least angled more correctly with the face. I had to sort of shift it over a little bit. But the problem is we're shifting something... Shifting it is complicated. Because it's not just like taking arc and then moving arc over to here. Not that. It's more like taking arc and rotating it around a shape, and so we've got like suddenly like long, skinnier arc on one side, and then really abrupt stop on the other. The eyes do it too. It's a shape that I need to get better at practicing. Because it's a tough one. Guess we can draw some reference lines there. Comes more like this. Well, it shouldn't do that second one. It should really still be fairly flat on that second one, so that's maybe part of the issue. But yeah, so that's why mouths are tricky. Even so, let's see. You know what I might do? I might take a quick like little 3-minute break, and then we will come right back and take a final decision on the face mouth. I will say, it's been interesting just kind of doing a loose freeform one like this. I've got enough of the structure sort of in my mind in proportions that rather than trying to build a facsimile structure to match the image and then relying rigidly on that structure that I'm not very good at matching to the image, perhaps it's better to keep in mind all the relative proportions between things and then try to match the image without the intermediary, like, full-on structure. I don't know. It's something worth experimenting with. Long term, I still want to get the structures down, so I need to practice them. Talking about, like, the Loomis method and such. But short term, this might be a viable option. We'll have to think about it. Well, I will think about it over the next 3 minutes. I hope that y'all will too, or we'll take, restroom break, drink water, whatever you need to do. We'll be back in just a few. Howdys and salutations, y'all. Hope I didn't keep you waiting too long there. Let's see. Where we left off, thinking about this face. It's not quite got the expression right. Mouth expressions have a lot of nuance. I see part of the problem now just looking at it from a zoomed out view. He's got this look that at the moment feels a little nervous, but a lot of the times would be a little closer to disgust. And that's going to bring this side up a little higher than the other side. I think that's closer. Now the other issue is the line weight. Obviously, if we've got heavy line weight for the nose and eyes, we need something in the mouth to have a similar line weight. The question is, what should have that line weight? Because I think it may just need to be the shadows on the edges. There's no single line of the mouth that really needs it. And I think giving it to a single line would be overly distracting. Lean into that one a little bit. Maybe not. Because yeah, if we do just that one line, it's not the worst, but it does sort of detract from everything else. Just don't want to drag and drop a line, that's my bad. There we go. I've just realized I'm sitting at kind of a weird angle compared to my laptop when I sat back down. This isn't a laptop, this is a keyboard. Same difference, really. Laptops contain keyboards. Okay, let's do a layer 5. Let's try some actual color and shading on this, shall we? Let's see what we can do. First off, let's name the heck out of our layers. Let's see. That's our angle. This one is our main forms. One's our details. Of course, not having the context of the phone or the hand is going to change the expression and pose somewhat, and if also the angle of the head is not quite as tilted, which is changing it, although I can partially fix that. I realize we lined this up based on the eyes, but A, I'm not actually 100% sure I lined that up right, and B, I think we need to adjust for the angle. I keep saying that, but I stand by it. Oh man, main forms. I called the wrong layer details, didn't I? Whoops. Ah, well. Right, because this is still on this layer. Let's just switch that over a little bit, shall we? Because we know that that part of the hair tends to be right in the middle of the head. So if it's centered on this angled line instead of centered on the face, it might give... Still not going to be quite enough to save the tilt. Like, the issue is the overall outline isn't tilted, so we can only do so much with detail work. We can't fix the underlying tilt problem. But it's not something to get too tilted about. Yeah, see, like that the nose and face line are going to be defining that way more than anything else. So let's actually return those to where they were so they at least look like they're aligned with that. Okay. How do we want to do this? Because we've got 2 line layers, which makes that complicated. I mean, I could just do some basic fills with a lot of closed gap and see where that gets us. Neutral face tone is going to be this one. Shadows will be the darker tone. Highlights will be the lighter tone. I think that's reasonable enough. Put our fill bucket and have a go at it. Also, let's make sure we put this below all of these. Oh, and I guess we can officially hide the original underlying angle layer at the very least. I do wish I could figure out how to get this fill bucket to be less rough at the edge, basically, less pixely. A little harsh at times. need to think that through. Oh, I see what I did here. Nope. Interesting to note that's open. Okay. Okay, that one's open too. Oh, we got a few lines to clean up. That's fine. That's fixable. There we go. Now, if I go into the color layer, fill should stay in its area. Good, 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 good. Same thing as on the main forms. It doesn't seem like there's a gap there, but I'm gonna close whatever gap there might be. There shouldn't be a gap there. Well, whatever I did solved it, so that works. Remember that part's skin. That part I think is 2. Yeah. This is all going to be just a shade darker, but of course that's going to mess with our line work a little bit, so we'll have to be careful with that. And back to the details patches, that's okay. We'll see how far we get on this, really. Oh, I guess that's an important detail, is how does the hair shift with the ear? Just loosely. Like that, in this case. It kind of follows the curve. Let's see, we may end up doing it. The problem is I've got a limited palette, which I like, actually. That's how I prefer it. Keeps things from getting out of hand with trying to get to too much detail and ending up with really nasty gradients. But it means we got issues like this, where we're showing hair and shadow with the same color, which is risky. It can cause problems. So we'll have to get a little creative with some things. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Main forms, we'll do just a little bit of patching. And then have another go. Okay, so we've got the colors roughly where we want them, but obviously not exactly where we want them. Also, we could potentially get a little more detail up there. That's something we could work with. But first off, let's look for actual like shadows. I'm gonna get the Millipen just up to like a 12. We'll try to plot in any shadows we see that need to be there. 12 may be too big for the size of this drawing. Let's drop it to 6. Start with that. We've obviously got the hair. Let me do shadows on another layer. That way, if we want to do molt, we can, but we don't have to. It does seem like there's roughly a shadow sort of corresponding here, above the brow line. That would fill this whole area. Let's see where there's any others. The lighting on this one is very neutral, so there's not harsh shadows, which is nice. But they're still there, and we can really accentuate them if we want. Obviously, like a little bit coming in with that one. But, no, I do not. Let's see. The catch is, of course, if we really want this to look good, we've got to taper it. Typically taper it so that most of the weight is in this lower section, but it's still curved in, which is just tough to do. There we go. So we may leave that one alone. It's delicate enough. It's not essential. Over here, however, definitely want to actually get some shadow on. Pretty much everything over here is in shadow, really. Including everything up here. Definitely this little bit there. The only exception is kind of like a little bit on the cheek there. And this bit is too. We'll start with that for the shadows. I'm not going to worry about the shirt. Let's look for highlights. For flats, we'll call this highlights. I think the most obvious one is kind of in here. Mogus. No, I'm kidding. Man, I've got it on the brain now. Y'all know it's 2022. I still can't get it out of my stinking head. It's been years. It's been 2 years. It's not been that many years, truthfully. I suppose it's believable, but like I have enjoyed how long-lived all the Among Us memes have been. Nice. Nice having something that sticks around. All the memes, for a while, they were such a breakneck pace and so miserably political that like it just felt like it was impossible to keep up. And you know, there's still all the breakneck trendy memes and all. But like it is nice having some that are just here for a bit. Let's see. I didn't get any of the shadows over here either. Yeah, we can put this one underneath here. Little highlight there. Ears are complicated, which is neat, makes them interesting, but they're complicated. Let's see, any highlights on this section would just be in this color. It does feel like there's a little bit of one. I just need to make sure. It's like a scratch and sniff or something. Like I can find the line. There it is. Like any of those. Did y'all ever have those? This is a little bit of a stretch. Like obviously it's more like a scratch off like ticket or something like that. Maybe back of a gift card or something. But did y'all ever have those little kits where it's like a bunch of, I don't know, like fake dirt or clay or something? Not like molding clay, but like dirt clay. You like chip away at it to find like a little toy dinosaur inside. I don't know why, that's what that felt like to me. I figured that wasn't. Okay, now I can lead into deep shadows. I mean, I can also just make this a mult layer. But I figured that would look weird. Intriguing. But I don't like that effect, at least not for this, so no, we're not going to mess with that. What I am going to mess with, though, is darkening where there's shadows over hair or where there's particularly deep shadows. Also fixing the eyes. This is causing a weird illusion with the shape of that eye that I don't like. I'll come back to it. It's super important that there's one there. Oh, I'm not on the shadows layer. Okay, nope. I do need to undo those. First off, color flats, I can fix the eyes. Now on deep shadows, we can do some deep shadows. Like mainly the hairline bit up there. like a little bit down here, I feel it's necessary to define the face, and also actually follows what we see. This side over here is going to have deeper shadow anywhere there's hair. It's interesting when I can't see the lines where my brain thinks they should be. I wonder if that says a little bit about where I ought to be placing them, or if my brain is just wrong. Either is possible. Let's see. Honestly, it ends up looking like part of the pupil is just growing when I do that. I have to exaggerate this bit a little bit just so it's clearly not the eye. Take some artistic license with that, maybe. Honestly, that's not terrible. It is interesting to see with and without the colors, though, to be fair. So let's create a folder. Create another folder. D2. Enter. Colors. And just temporarily turn those off. Just comparing these two. Holy cow, one of those is obviously so much better. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, interesting insights from this one, really. Let's see. First off, structure is still important. I couldn't have drawn that second one without knowing the structure and where everything lines up. But, also trying to apply the, formal structure to an actual, image without fully getting things lined up right means that they sort of compete against each other. And I think that's why the face ended up so weird on that other one. Because, honestly, I think this is it. The structure of that face width isn't bad. It's bad if the nose and everything is rotated that far to the left. Let me do a quick, for demonstration purposes only. No, not in there. Thank you. Let's see. If we'd had the eyes, over here and there with the nose there, and, kind of the mouth, I think that this face width would have been, I mean, this still looks horrifying, but it would have been more right. But the problem was I built the structure with the face where this sort of brownish illustration is, but then the actual image's face was way more rotated, and so they ended up competing against each other. So I need to be very careful about trying to apply the concrete to the abstract. Or rather, the abstract to the concrete. They didn't. One of the two didn't play nice with the other. Is the point. Which is fine. I mean, that's what we're learning. Face. In. Wrong. I want to write place so bad. But it's angle is the actual answer. Of course, the real secret is that if we're going to do an abstraction, we should make sure it matches the actual image. Do structure angle. And I know taking notes is dull, but I think it's worth doing, because otherwise I wouldn't learn from this, and I might just try the same stinking thing again. At least now I have a shot at catching myself if I do it again. Didn't match image angle to structure angle. So, competed. think that's good. I think that's the main takeaway there. Obviously, there's a few other things we could work on. Line weight also was much better on the second one, although the mouth on that first one's actually not terrible. Good line weight. And Perdetto, cool nose. Which I actually kind of agree with. This is a newish style I've been trying. I like how these noses are turning out. Just a note for what that is. Mouth angle. Do. Let's see. I mean, we could have a go at one more, but I think it's going to end up rushed. What I think I'd rather do is wrap early today so I can work on some additional like setup and tweaks and such. I think we'll call it here for the night. Well, we can give it a few more minutes. We'll see. What else did we do? We did do that doodles layer. Very different. What if I tried to do a doodle in that style of this guy? Okay, yeah, let's do that. Notes. And then I'm gonna hide everything. Oof. We're gonna make one more new layer. I call that one the Salt style because Salt was the first character I really perfected in it. Perfected is a bold choice of word. Got really good at and put into muscle memory. Salt as an OC I quite appreciate. I don't want to say she's my favorite because you gotta love them all equally, but like Salt was one of the first ones that I really got actual character development into, and I think she's fun. So I still got a ways to go on that character development. My word. Okay. Let's throw ourselves a 4 again. I think the heavyish weight for the border. Well, actually a 5 because I tend to go loosey goosey with these lines. Okay. Once again, we got ourselves a circle. Yeah, the less you think about the circle, the better it ends up being. If I'm trying to actually draw a circle, it's bad. I wasn't even trying to botch that, but it's objectively worse. It's like it's got a squared off corner. What the heck is that? Quick lines. Also, if you botch it with a quick line one, you can just re-go until you get a good one. And all of these are like at least equal to that super slow one. There, see? Better. But we're gonna stick with the original. Now the other thing with this style I didn't mention earlier, part of the limit is I can't, like, even drawing it just mirrored is hard for me, which is a silly problem to have. Like, it's not like the forms are even different, but like the motion with my hand is, and so it throws me for a loop. Okay, let's try to get the head tilt better on this version at least. Okay. And then I end up defining this bit with the nose a lot. That's what's funky about this style, is the nose ends up being like a defining part of the face. We can work with that. Still got to tweak the style a little bit to match even sort of realistic people, because it doesn't have very much versatility, having basically been used for like fantasy characters this whole time. So let's see. Got a few different ways I do eyes on this one. I think he would benefit from, like, if not full width, like small circles. We'll see though. Right, you gotta get the ear. Bigger at the top, that's kind of what I'm going for. Like, I'm not trying to get the exact proportions, but I do want it to be larger at the top to match the original. I have curiosity on ears. Maybe it's just an angle and lighting thing, but it feels like every single picture I see of an ear, like the folds and everything are completely different, and that can't be the case, right? Like, there have to be patterns to how that all works. I assume there's a lot of, like, very clever acoustical things going on there. Pardon my yawn. Like, it feels like they're completely different every time, and that baffles me. Okay, get his collar. We won't go too long on the neck. Will, however, exaggerate the collar. Because why wouldn't I when I can? Oops, I'm on the eraser still. Oopsie doodle. There we go. We got that higher on the left than the right. I think that's important there. I don't think these eyes match him. And let's see. The other thing is usually I end up having to cut part of this off because, much like we mentioned earlier, human face is not actually a circle. I got to do a similar thing on the back, but I've kind of accounted for it with the neck placement and all, so it's not quite as jarring there. Let's see. This should be a thinner line weight, probably. I don't think I even drew the mustache on the other version of him, did I? That's the other thing, is this style could be good if I practice with it more. And actually tried different faces with it. I just am bad about doing that. Okay, if I really want to make this match the actual style, there's two things I need to do. Well, rather, two things I need to grab. They accidentally stole part of the nose. There's one. There's two. Yeah, it definitely seems worse like this. I will fix the line weight, to be fair. Be consistent about what I hit with this pen, or it also does all sorts of weird stuff. Leave gaps with the vector, the way it interprets it is interesting. But I also think that this looked... Yeah, I kind of figured. It looks worse with them big. Maybe eyebrows are the issue here. I mean, there's a lot of issues here. This style doesn't represent every type of person super well. That's not even slightly the right pen. I mean, it's like maybe him. I think I need to tweak the nose a little bit too. Like that again. Maybe flatten that line out entirely. Or like give the nose a little more undernose, but then it kind of stops being that style and starts being something else. Like that's the issue with this one. And again, I'm not giving up on it. I'm not tossing it out the window. It just needs refinement. I need to make some broader scale changes to it. I'm working with that taper a little bit, vibing with it. But no, it's still just... The problem is you have to... With this style, here's the thing. The nose defines the cheek line, which for, like, cutesy younger characters kind of works. Because you've already got this, like, it's just going to be big and rounded and cutesy whatever you do, and that's fine. Like, that looks okay, especially when you smooth it out a little bit. But, like, when you try to get someone either at a different angle where the nose isn't defining the cheek line, then suddenly they become very bad. Or if you get someone where their nose is just a lot more subtle, like let's say we've got like a pointy nose that then crops in. That can work, but it's harder to make it work. Actually, I think it kind of works in this case, but even then, it's like, it's clearly got to be cartoonized, like, significantly. And I think I need to lean into it more with him, and I'm not sure how, because he has a fairly sharp cheek line, but a fairly rounded nose, and that ends up competing. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep taking notes, because when I think something, if I don't write it down, that thought will go away. Style issue. At least this would help me identify, like, where some of the issues are and why this only seems to work in 3/4 view. Not inherently bad, so issue is maybe not the right word, but it's something to be aware of. Nose defines the cheek line. Fine if cutesy / young / rounded / round. Very bad if not in 3/4 view. And bad if nose sharp and cheeks round, or vice versa. Or vice versa. Fine if both angular. Like this feels like a villain face, but even then, with a decent expression and some cleverness, you could make it where it's just like a very narrow face. But for whatever reason, I'm getting Cruella de Vil from that nose. And I've encountered this exact nose shape issue before. I just wasn't able to put my finger on it exactly. So I'm glad that we did this today, actually, because that's helped me figure out one of the pain points with this. We can compare it to the actual V2. I mean, look at that. Not perfect, but I will say that V2 actually looks pretty close to the actual image. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and, like, look at that. Let me overlay. Like, look at that. That's believably that guy. This one, less so. Face proportions are, like, even by cartoonized it tall instead of wide because it wasn't intentional cartooning, it was just inherent to the style. And if you're not doing something like that with intent behind it, it just becomes kind of random disproportions instead of an actual, like, cartoonified character. You've got to put thought into what you exaggerate and what you diminish. I mean, that's what we were talking about last stream, even, was focusing on the important details. If you're cartooning, that's especially important. You've got to put all the emphasis onto the key details, exaggerate those. Don't exaggerate random stuff, because you might end up, like, minimizing the important details so they're not as noticed, and then it looks way off. Like with Bert, here's an example, Bert and Ernie. Obviously, neither of them look like humans, but you can tell that Bert would have a taller, thinner face, and Ernie was like a shorter, wider one. And they built it out from there. Like they intentionally leaned into those sort of aspects, which gives them fun contrast as a duo of characters, a very distinct But it also, like, if they'd given Bert, like, if they'd arranged his face and everything as though it was short and wide, it would look really weird and off-putting. And if they'd, same with Ernie, if they'd given him like a super tall haircut, like tall and skinny haircut on top of that wide face, it would have looked weird. But they didn't. They, you know, it was intentional how they cartooned them, and that's not even based on real people. But you know, the same especially goes true for that. So this reference image, it doesn't strike me as particularly like tall-faced. That's not really the important emphasis of the image. Honestly, this one is the most important detail is the expression, I would think. Maybe the tilt of the head, the collar tie grab. Whether he's nervous or disgusted, quite plausibly both. But I feel like those are more important for that reference image. So I didn't exaggerate. Like, I feel like if you were gonna do this image, you wouldn't exaggerate the height to make it look like him. It doesn't fit. You maybe could do width, because he's got kind of an oval face, and that's usually a decent thing you can do with that. But like, I don't know. Like, you could do it, but it's very different. Well, I think that's enough random stream insights for one night. For better or for worse, we've gotten quite a lot done on this one. As always, it turns into the Nightmare Layer Fest at the end. Let's see if there's anyone we can raid. Not that I can stay on super late, but like, that might be fun. Let's see. There's not really anyone here, but I might as well raid anyway. You know, at least pop over that a ways, even though it's really complicated to get the raids to work. Because like with my recordings, I don't want to accidentally record the person I'm raiding and then post their stream. That would be awkward. So yeah, actually, I think with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the recording here. So if you're watching the VOD, I believe that we're going to raid, what's their name? They're one I found the other day. They're doing some cool animation stuff, so it's kind of on the Muffant, Muffant. We're going to go give them a raid, see what they're up to. But in the meantime, I hope you've had a good time watching the VOD, or digging through the stream archives, or clicking random on YouTube until you stumbled across this thing. I have no idea how you found this or why you watched the end. But I hope it was useful, or at least interesting, or good background noise. So we will see you next time to everyone on the VOD. Have a good one.